Oh, do you remember it?
Oh,
of course you remember it.
Golden diamond rings, all them things don't mean a thing. Chaperones in limousine, shopping for expensive things. Yeah.
I'm really excited that now I have this on film.
Oh no!
Glamorous.
Glamorous!
Okay, so basically, Outsourced is it is a result of getting funding for Tish Pro Funds. So we did it last year, obviously. We were part of Midsummer.
Awesome.
And they loved us so much that they wanted to give us more money. So then, bounced around some more ideas. And I started thinking about a play that I'd seen in Edinburgh, one of my friends was a part of. And what they had done was basically created a live video game. Sit down. It's you, a computer monitor, and a headset, or whatever. And all you're told is that there is an agent who has been kidnapped, and you have to get her to safety. And then boom, you're like you're in the world. You're just watching through the monitor, communicating with this person. You never see their face, but you can see them from their point of view. Two things. One, you were sitting in a shed in Edinburgh, right? This is during the Edinburgh Festival. The actual show, though, was taking place in London.
And that was all live?
It's all live, so it's a
That's
live
really
feed.
cool.
Exactly. The fact that you, as the player / audience, had an effect on the game. So obviously, there were things like small choices. There's a piece of paper on the ground. Should we pick it up? Sure, let's pick it up. Let's see what it says. To like larger choices, like there's a guy on the ground who's bleeding because he's been shot and he wants to die. Should we give him that poison that's conveniently next to him, or should we just leave him? There are two obvious choices, but then obviously you can choose other things too.
Really says a lot about human nature.
Right? And other people just like, oh, just leave him, he's faking, or something, clearly bleeding. I've just been thinking about that whole concept, and the way they did it, and popular at Edinburgh last year, were a lot of sort of sci-fi action films that were based on, they kind of felt like movies, doing movies on stage. And luckily there were a few companies who actually have managed to recreate that experience really well, so that it doesn't feel like you're trying to watch a movie, but it also feels like something that's very different from theatre. Thus, Outsourced is kind of taking that concept and bringing it to a world that we know, for the most part, but also allowing us to explore the themes and stuff that plays are so good for. I feel like something that you miss when you sort of just do a pure action-based narrative is that it becomes sort of not two-dimensional, but there's less emphasis on themes and things like that. It's kind of something that comes as an afterthought, like, oh, that could have meant something. Whereas when you go to a play, when you see a play, you kind of are sort of settled and you're exploring, a few themes over and over again in every scene. So it's kind of putting those two babies together. So with Outsourced, I've been reading articles lately talking about this emergence of outsourced HR. And it's really interesting because in some ways human resources is the most personal part of a company. It's where you have, this is payroll, this is healthcare. You can say like, oh, this person looks really unreliable, but maybe they're the most reliable one. But essentially the crux of the story is you come in, you say, hey, Steve, you're fired. And then all of a sudden, someone comes and takes the entire office hostage. Could be Steve, could be someone other than Steve, we don't really know. But all of a sudden we have to get out of the office. And you may, in doing so, choose to save other people. You are not Annie, you are a person who's managing Annie. So we've set it up as though it's like a virtual management training program. And it's it's the first day, and you're hooked up with Annie, and you're just there to, give her some advice. And, this is how you, use these set lines, fire someone, it's fine.
Virtually, though.
Exactly, virtually. It's not meant to be anything, tough. And when you first meet Annie, she's having, like, a panic attack. You calm her down, it's fine. Go. I don't know how you pronounce Steve's name, doesn't matter. And then, obviously, you get into the situation where there are no right answers. And so it's basically creating this relationship between you and Annie. You've got a very personal thing there. And originally it was supposed to be, again, like a one-player game. But then I started thinking, what would it be like if you also had an audience? Because all of a sudden you're performing, and yet you're also watching a performance and having an impact on that. So that's that. That's the project.
Cool.
Easy way to keep in contact with everyone. And then speaking of contact, if you really feel like emailing me and you want to use a form, do it. So now when people say like, oh, you're part of the One Trick Circus, what's that about? You can just say, this.
Please refer to our website.
Yeah. I was also thinking of getting us like small business cards.
What are you doing? You're like a business card.
Okay, so that's our site. It will update pretty much daily once the thing starts. So please look at it, make it your homepage or something. But really though, if you make it your homepage, it's like free advertising. So, like if I left this here and everyone's like,
Hey, can I use your computer? Yeah, why? What is the One Trick Circus?
I don't know. Why don't you go striking?
I have $1 million. Do you want it?
So, okay. So basically, Outsource. Does anyone... Yeah, apparently my head was too heavy to lift on my own. Oh, yes. Done.
That's better.
Oh my
Is
god.
that the Batman one?
Look how open and resonant you are.
Oh my goodness,
In
that's so
your
marketable.
jaw.
I am really, actually. I really am.
Oh, what time's?
So Tony,
Engage.
choose one of those that you want on the site and send it to me so I can put it up on the site and you can mess up our configuration. 9 looks great, but of course, which one's so funny?
I have so many questions.
You guys are matching on the bottom. I wore my mom let me wear pants and skirts at the same time.
Oh wow.
If I can take you back, I'm gonna say like 4 months or something.
Okay.
I can't actually lift my head or on my own. So
Is somebody holding up?
the pillows. I'm literally propped like this, and I can't do anything else.
Oh my
so
god.
I'm probably
so
like,
sassy.
why? Like,
Are we going to create the play, or are we going to? I just didn't know. I just didn't know what the plan
Oh,
was.
okay. Yeah, sorry. I thought
It
before
was
the play,
really
actually, we
great.
just look at some more of your baby photos, though, because I really just want to see those.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I love this because
That's
you've
awesome.
captured pretty much
I love
everything I want to do with my career, which is
Yeah.
dress like I'm from the 1800s,
Uh-huh.
but also be in like nuclear warfare.
Yeah,
like, at the
that's what I
same-
thought. Yeah. You just happen to have the
Loves you.
right angle for this 18th century photo.
Production.
Can I have a
Love your
mustache?
face just
The production design of that
You
movie.
just went.
I can't even handle it.
Can I have a
It's
mustache and
so
all
that?
beautiful. You can have a mustache. Yes, Tony, you can have a mustache. I'm talking about art.
I want a Larry David Hamlet.
to
Someone
die.
would kill him in the first act and be over.
To die, to sleep, okay?
Like, and like people just break it like, okay, Hamlet, go. Just go. I don't go.
Hamlet. Oh my god.
Right?
To die. To sleep.
Right?
To sleep.
He's there, going the window. He's just like, he's still going. Okay, so Outsourced. We're blurring the line between performance and spectatorship. So we have a whole bunch of audience members, but one of them is chosen as like the golden ticket. Is communicating with Annie, right? And Annie is in, we'll call this remote location.
Like an office building, basically.
Yeah, an office building, probably in Brooklyn or Long Island or Long Island City. They are connected via headset and webcam. So it's a one-way webcam, so you can see from Annie's perspective, and you can hear Annie, you can talk to Annie. Annie can't see you. Annie is interacting with everyone else in this remote location. So, all that good stuff. And what you tell her to do affects this, and what these people do to her affects what you blah blah. So it's kind of this this simultaneous like watching, and yet interacting, and these two audiences, if you imagine, like the cast members who aren't connected, but are waiting for Annie to, or I say waiting, they have their own storyline.
Like this world.
Yeah, this world is complete with or without Annie's input. So, this story that we create would happen regardless. We were saying yesterday that the hostage situation probably would have happened anyway. So this is a plan that Steve already had in place, which will explain why it runs so smoothly. The question becomes, does Annie save herself and or save the others and or catch whoever is the cause of this, Steve? If you were to explore the office, if you were to talk to everyone and look at everything, kind of Sleep No More like, you may get a different narrative other than Steve is crazy and we need to fire him. We were talking about how it's probably a conspiracy. Maybe it's sort of like Michael Clayton-esque or Erin Brockovich, and that this company is doing like a really bad thing, and maybe Steve's like a whistleblower or whatever, but unsung hero. So that's essentially the story. That's the setup. And in terms of technology, it basically just requires a webcam and headset. If you play the game multiple times, you might get something more out of it. If you play the game really thoroughly, you get something from it. But even if you play it just on the level that, oh my god, I have to just do what they say, you'll still get that sort of immediate, action happening.
But the other one puts more power in the audience members.
Yeah, the other one does do that, yeah.
Which makes sense for the interactive.
Would people in the audience that's not chosen want that audience member to have that much power?
I don't know.
But we were watching the guy playing it, and I know, for me personally, I was still engaged even though I wasn't in charge of anything.
Mm-hmm.
It was just watching things unfold that they're more like a play.
Gotcha.
Well, if the audience member has power, though, that justifies why it's an interactive thing as opposed to a film.
And that creates a different gameplay. Confident player, not confident protagonist, different gameplay.
But
if the protagonist is confident, then you'll always have pretty much the same gameplay. Because what I like messing with too is when you don't know that an option exists, and so presenting that all of a sudden just explodes.
Opens up.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like first rounds, you just thought Annie, and it's like, okay, who else wants to play? And then somebody else does, and you're kind of like, do you want to be Annie, or do you want to be
And then you could offer a character selection screen with all of us being like.
And all it requires is the game, the headset changing.
Yeah.
Cool beans. That is a really good idea. In that we are looking for places that will allow us to actually change environments. So within a building, but if we can use the office space. So, this was kind of like the startup tech. We got this office setting downstairs. And then they also have this outdoor area, this sort of kitchen. Because we also wanted to look like a real, startup company.
That's cool.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a real company. This is like a real startup kind of thing.
And part of the reason we were thinking that the power would get cut as well is because it would add an element of interesting lighting options. It's dimming.
Maybe the one above it.
No, that's even brighter.
Maybe it's just a touch it's a dimmer.
No, started off with a really great, really atmospheric set.
That's really cool.
In terms of rehearsals and devising, that was something that they always had in mind.
She's wearing a webcam, basically?
She's the one who's going to be wearing the webcam. Yeah.
So she's your point of view.
Yeah. So everything is directly towards you like that. At the same time, if she turns, she can still see Louis. When you hear them, it doesn't feel like they're in space. So this is actually a really good scene from it.
Yeah, I'm also obviously feeling a bit nervous because
hold on a second. That's actually really good. They actually built a shed. The shed is where you sat and played the game. Which personally, I don't think you had to build a shed. You probably could have just bought a shed, but maybe it was cheaper. I don't know. It's so funny because I'm being so perky about this, but if you actually listen to a lot of the video, it's just them being Alright, so this is a better view of the space itself, and you spend a lot of time here. So they move from this corner over here to where that door is, but it really feels like it's a much larger space when you're doing it. Feels like you're traversing. The gameplay was about an hour, give or take. It can run because festival games generally run an hour, but they allowed for 2 hours of gameplay. And so here, like, she's picked up a piece of paper. You find several ripped pieces of paper, and that's kind of like how you're seeing everything. So you see her hands and stuff, and you hear her voice, but you never actually see her face. This is again this same set of rooms, and really here all they've done is put a light, with the gel. And it's like super simple. I mean, their set in here is like just a table and a tablecloth, but it looked really, really great, especially on camera, and it's like super spooky. And then if you see that door in the distance, which has heads on it, that's like an example. Right from the get-go, they had you do a choice between heads or tails. At this point, actually, in the game.